All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The conversation continues even during the break. Let's see what you're saying online and keep them coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's see what you're saying here online. Kevo Wodadori says youth must stand up and stamp authority in the political spectrum, not as followers but as partners. Youth power is only second to God's power. If we rise with honor. If we fail, or if we fall, we must do so. It's so declassified. All right, let's see what else you're saying here. Chalo Woodrose, he says, talking about Pesa Mfukoni, may the ANC panelists tell us how this money will get into the people's pockets. We are tired with political theatrics that are used by politicians that will never live to see the light of day. Let's pause there for a bit, because this is actually the conversation we were having, and I wanted to veer off the statements that were made by the politicians and talk about youth affairs. We started by asking, how can youth set the political agenda in Kenya? But this is a direct question to you, Omulo, so I'll let you respond.
You know, when we talk about Pesa Mfukoni, you know, economic recovery is not a touch and go affair. It is a process, and you've seen Musalia Mudavadi has been very consistent on the issues of economy. It is a clarion call that he's been doing from 2014. And when we talk about Pesa Mfukoni, we are talking about economic recovery path that will be able to reduce public debt or public borrowing, and that will also create an opportunity for young people to get jobs. So we are focusing on issues that will enable young people to do business, as compared to the manifesto that is being fronted by our opponents. You know, when opponents talk about handouts of 6,000 shillings, we ask ourselves, are we for handouts or are we for issues of manifestos that will last long and will create an opportunity or a framework that will for generation to come? So when you talk about Pesa Mfukoni, we are talking about a platform that will enable us, that will increase industrialization, that will help us get jobs, that will make us earn more than what we earn today. Yeah.
When you hear that sort of conversation, and you mentioned earlier on that your party leader is promising 70% of positions to the young people, how does that compare with what you hear from his opponents? 6,000 shillings, 100 billion for businesses, things that we've always had.
One question that lingers in my mind is, when you talk about 6,000 shillings at social protection to our people, where will the money come from? We've had the Ode, who are supposed to be given about, I think, 2,000 shillings a month. We've had them complain that they've not received this money for 4 months, 6 months, and probably when there is a by-election near the area, they are given the money just to prove some points. The question is, as young people in this country, as people who work in this country, where will this money come from? It will come from our taxes. And is the business environment good? Are we able to make more money for us to pay taxes? Of course, paying taxes is being patriotic to your country, and you can only pay taxes if you're making something. So it leaves a lot of question in my mind when you say you'll be giving 6,000 shillings. And don't tell me you're going to curb corruption, because that's the first answer that you get. When somebody tells you, I'm going to curb corruption, this is where I'm going to get this kind of money to give the people who need this money. It is not the corruption, because when I look at all these leaders, they've been in the executive positions in this country. They've been ministers in these countries. They've been assistant ministers in these countries. And all we should be looking at first is the track record, what they achieved when they were ministers in this country before we are promised anything else. When you tell us about bottoms up, what is bottoms up? You have to tell us, how are you going to create an enabling environment for the people of these countries, for SMEs? Remember, during Kibaki's time, we had banks hawking loans on the streets, where they would come to your business and ask you, are you going to take up a loan? But what is happening to internal borrowing right now? We have a lot of internal borrowing, therefore making the money available to be given to our people very low, and interest very high. And as a country, of course, as a bank, if the country comes to you, you lend to the country first, because it's not high risk than an individual. Looking at the boda sector, which has employed a lot of people, what happened is we had zero rating of motorcycles on tax. That is why they were able to buy a lot of motorcycles. And we've seen that this industry, if organized very well, it has created a lot of wealth and can still generate more wealth.
Okay.
So let's look at it from an angle whereby let's give realistic promises to our people.
Okay.
Let's stop joking with people's minds. Let's stop joking with people's vulnerability. Let's just look at how are we going to make sure we get to a path of economic recovery. We have the majority who are the youths get on board. Let them make money and pay taxes and develop the country. All
right, let's see what else you're saying on feedback here. F0 says, Omulo is my friend. And he was once invited me to NC and told me to support Mudavadi for president. It's now clear Mudavadi is not in this to win it. Does that speak much about how youth in political spaces are unaware of decisions made on their behalf? Okay, before we get to Omulo, let's hear about that from you. It's an interesting perspective, Asiko. So are the youth aware of what's going on? Which party are you running with, by the way?
I'm running on ODM ticket.
Okay. Are you aware of what's going on right now in the party system, like what Osiro is saying?
Yes.
So if ODM now decides, wakes up one day and says, this is the direction we're going, are you involved?
Yes, I am aware because recently, like on Sunday, between Monday and Tuesday, we had the ODM Youth League meeting in Machakos County at Manzoni Loja, where the youth president for ODM and the other youth directors and everybody who's involved with matters of the youth came straight forward and said that Baba has interest of the youth. And most of the youth who are running for these positions, either MPs, senators, governors, they will be given these tickets during the party primaries. So I am aware of what is happening in ODM because in politics you always have to be aware. Secondly, you know all these things of bottom up, everything every politician is talking about. These are just capacity building techniques. The techniques of enabling the common mwananchi be capacity builded. For example, we have top down, we have partnerships, we have sponsorships, and then we have now this one, the bottom up economic model. They are all economic models. But you know, you have to look now, after these economic models, they have been put forth. You really now have to look with your open eyes as a youth, which one is the right one for me. For example, you cannot say like, for this bottom up, I'll be given a wheelbarrow in a year and I will be very comfortable. That is out of order as a youth because I would rather have the 6,000 times 12, I'll have 72,000 at the year than have a wheelbarrow for 1 year. You see, that puts out, so as a youth, you really...
They haven't said that they would give wheelbarrows, though, just for the record.
Okay.
They said that they'll give maybe 100 billion shillings for SN.
No, I am talking about the Kenya Kwanza, the wheelbarrow part. That is what I am talking about. So as the youth, you really need to look at what is being offered for you. For example, Raila Amolo Odinga was very categorical about what he's going to do for the youth. Number one, it was about the Youth Commission. Number two, Baba has assured us as the youth that he's going to create industries in the 47 counties, and this will help create jobs for the youth. There's that hell blown. The laws, they will be reviewed so that it favors all the youth in the country. There's that tax holiday for the youth, like, for example, for me who's doing business. That will be very good for me. Okay. You see, so as a youth, you don't just take things because they have been put for you. You have to be very categorical on what you want or what direction you want to take as a youth.
Mohamud, you're the only one who's not party affiliated in this conversation of ours. How can the young people, the youth, achieve unity of purpose? How can they decide that this is the right direction for us and this is where we are going? It's related to the question we're asking, how can the youth set the political agenda in Kenya? But how can we, as young people, achieve unity of purpose, knowing that these are the issues that are facing us and this is the direction we're taking? Why is it that the youth are so divided?
Thank you very much. You know, for youths to be actively engaged in governance or even political processes in Kenya, they should be at the forefront. They should be on the table of meaningful engagement, not just engagement. I can be very certain or undoubtedly very sure that my colleague here was not even aware that the deputy president may even attend their NDC. You get my point? So they are just, they were not like involved at the primary level. So they come to realize that it has happened, then they accommodate the same situation. So the only way on how we can at least avoid this division which is being created by politicians, they are dividing us on class, especially the poor and the rich and the middle class, and also on tribal fabrics, divisions, where like we can at least like be sure that a youth maybe in Nyanza cannot agree with his friend from Rift Valley. They can be friends, but because of politics, so the only way is to be accommodative of each other, and so that we can at least extinguish this aspect of divisive politics, which is being fronted by our politicians. So the moment we are united, then we can at least have a block of votes. But now our votes as youths have been segmented into religion, tribal, and also class. So the only way is for us to have a unity of purpose. That's when they can even respect us. Now, when they want to seek for like votes in different areas, what they do is they give you in some areas they give you a certain promise. When they go to another area, it's another promise. So you know, like they know that there's this kind of a division. But the moment we have a block, like solid block, then I can be very sure and without any fear of contradiction that we can even produce a presidential, candidate who can be termed as a horse, not a donkey.
Okay. Omulo, how do the youth achieve unity of purpose? I want to veer away from what all politicians have been saying, because everything that is being said here is part of what they've said before. Sure. So this, as young people, how can the youth just achieve unity of purpose and decide that this is the direction we're taking and this is it? Because you're on both sides. You're affiliated with the party, but you're also a young person.
Of course. And, you know, I've also served in the private sector. I'm the former president of the Youth Parliament, and I understand, you know, some of these issues. There are a lot of policies that government have initiated, because I don't want to speak for the government, but I believe that there are even institutions that are supposed to, you know, speak on behalf of the youth. For example, the National Youth Council, which we participated, some of us. But if you look at the structure of the National Youth Council, it has not been, you know, properly funded. It is intentional. And that is why when my dear here is talking about creating a youth commission, you know, it will not add any value, because we have all these policies right now. But Trevor, even before I discussed this issue, because I wanted to also to respond to some of these issues that my dear here senator is saying, you know, wheelbarrow is a signature for a hustler, somebody who is down there, just like Orange in ODM. You know, you've not been talking about Orange. How is Orange helping us? So signature, let us not talk about, we are not giving wheelbarrow, but that is a signature. It is a sign for us, a hustler. You know, Trevor, there's no dignity in poverty. I've come from, you know, a ghetto. I was raised up in Dandora, and I understand the situation down there. People are suffering. Currently, the country is broke. We are talking about a debt of 7.05 trillion. That is almost up to 65% of GDP. From that 2012, it was about 1 billion. You know, currently we are borrowing money to pay salaries. We cannot afford, you know, due to COVID-19, people are suffering. Businesses have closed. You know, people cannot afford good food. People cannot pay their rent. People cannot put good clothes. You know, people are looking at a leader who will be able to offer them solution. And I can tell you for a fact that as ANC and Kenya Kwanza, I can tell you specifically the reason why as young people we are supporting that coalition. One, we are saying that there are specific things that we have identified that are challenges facing the young people. For example, we are going to reduce the registration fee for business startup, so that those people who are registering company, we can increase the number of people who are coming up with companies to, you know, to reduce the challenges they face in terms of financial support. Secondly, we are going to increase, you know, the government support in terms of giving tenders from 30% to 40%. I can tell you for a fact that currently the government is giving Youth Development Fund a budget of 1 billion. But come 2023, 2024, when we form government, we are going to increase that to 2 billion, so that we increase that, capital for young business startups to do business. We are also going to increase the funding of help from 15 billion to 20 billion come 2023, 2024. And also, Msale has been saying, and I gave a good example, that we have been involved in the decision-making of the party. And Msale has promised, and even the Kenya Kwanza coalition, that we have promised 30% involvement in all government appointments, either in the CSS, the CS, and even other sectors. Trevor, in 2017, we are almost there because we started this process. If you look at 2017, we had IBC cleared 8 governors who are young people below 35, but only 1 got elected. If you look at the senators, we had 66 senators who were cleared by IBC, but we got only 5 who were elected. If you look at the MPs, we had around 357 who were cleared, but we got 23 who were elected. The same to MCAs, there were around 606, but half of them, 303, were elected. So what we are currently pushing as a party, we are giving young people a platform so that they are not only participating as voters, because that is their civic duties, but let them come up and contest for this position. When we are there, and I said, you must participate in the making of that, cooking of that food. Let us be in that, in parliament, so that we can also participate in the development of the agenda. Currently, the youth is homogeneous. People think that it's only the elites, the youth elites, who can access certain positions in the party. And I wanted to ask my dear here, if you look at Azimio, you are either in a lobby group to participate in that. You are put at the periphery. If you look at youth leagues, you cannot bank on youth leagues. I've been a youth leader before. Youth leagues do not have power. They do not have even, they don't make any decision. But right now, you are saying that we were not involved. Actually, as the Director of Strategy and Political Affairs, I can tell you for a fact that, and I'm very proud, I was one of those people who developed the earthquake, and it is really causing a lot of havoc in this country.
Your response in terms of unity of purpose, because Omulo's version is that we have to take part in politics, and he has clearly drawn his line that join a party that is already existing.
Yes.
Thank you, Trevor. What I would say is what Mohamud said about the youths being a majority in this country. We cannot have the youths having 70% in numbers, and when we come to the legislative bodies, they are represented by very few people. When it comes to the other arms of government, they're also represented by very few people. So what I would ask is for the youths to come together, because clearly, as we can see it, is we have people who are talking about giving the youths 30%. The youths of this country are 70% in numbers. So when I hear from both divides that youths will get 70%, at least I would say I'm on the right path when I follow somebody who says they are giving 70%, because JB believes youths are innovative, youths are the solutions to their own problems, and when they are brought on board. And Democratic Party of Kenya, the youth wing is not useless, Omolo. When we come to the youth wings, like in other parties, our youth wing is not cosmetic. This is not whereby youths come sit when they are idles. This is where youth come sit, make decisions, take them to the management of the party, and the party takes them seriously. That's why I would tell youths across the country, if you feel like you are in a shrinking space in your political party, you'd rather come home to Democratic Party of Kenya, where your issues will be heard and you'll not be used as a conveyor belt. For the longest time, Trevor, we've seen youth being used as conveyor belts. They take leaders to positions and the leaders wait for 5 years. This cannot happen. And as the youth of this country, we have the numbers. As much, they keep telling us you don't have the resources. What they don't remind you is you have the numbers. It's time we stop being the disorganized majority that are ruled by the organized minorities.
Yeah, but it is galvanizing these numbers. That's where the problem is, Wangui. How do you bring these numbers together? Because they're split for different reasons.
Yes, they're split on tribal lines. They're split on party principles. They're split on many. We have a lot of factors that make them split. But I would really urge the youths in this country, we have to have clarity of mind, because the problems that we face as a youth, I said, whatever I face in Kiambu, it's probably the same thing somebody in Kisumu is facing. It's probably the same thing somebody in Garissa is facing. So we all have problems. But when we come together, because who will address these problems if we are not on the table? Who will address these problems if we don't take our own to parliament? Who will address these problems if we don't have our own in the county assemblies? What we need is a sizable representation of the youths.
Yeah.
And we need a friendly party where you don't have to know someone who knows someone for you to be able to get the nominations.
Yeah.
You need somebody who trusts in the youths, who believes in the youths, and who wants to offer the youths a majority. Okay. And that is Democratic Party of Kenya,
okay.
Of course, under our presidential candidate.
Yeah. Asiko, you're running for Senate.
Yes.
But one of the biggest issues you're going to face right now is voter apathy. Young people like yourself are simply not taking their voters' cards.
Yes.
It is that simple.
Yes.
They have simply refused. It's not that they don't have the opportunity. The second phase is ongoing right now. It's supposed to end on the 6th. IBC's numbers are dismal. We have 2 more days.
Yes.
What do you think is the problem, and how can that then be addressed? Because when you're on the ground, what do they tell you? You come and speak to them, you say you want to become a senator. What do they tell you?
Okay, thank you so much, Trevor. You know, first of all, most of the youth are not aware of what is happening. You see, we need to do more of civic education on different mainstream media so that this can reach out to more people. And apart from just doing it on media and any other platform, the IEBC should go to the grassroots so that it can speak to these youth. You know, most of the youth will not vote because, first of all, they are ignorant. And they are forgetting one thing, that most of the past greatest revolutionaries of the world were made by the youth. Like, for example, if you look at Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King Jr., when you look at Patrice Lumumba, these were all young people that made revolutionaries that changed the world. This is what the youth are forgetting. And they are also forgetting that if you don't vote, it means you are not voting because you are not voting because you are ignorant, and also you are making decisions that will affect your future. It will affect whether you will get a job or not. It will affect whether you will get your help for you to go to school. It will affect whether you will have a good environment for you to survive as a youth. So voter apathy among the youth is an issue that is really on the rampant and really needs to be addressed. I think as much as IBC is going to close the window in just 2 days, I feel like they need to create some more space, and then they need to do at least more voter civic education, registration education, so that we have more youth on board.
Okay. Because
I'm telling you for free, in fact, because of the hard economic times and everything that is going on in this country, I will not wish to respond to my friend Omulo. He's a friend of mine. I will not wish to respond to him when he's talking about the hustler narrative because of the hard times in the country. I agree, there are hard times in the country. I will not wish to respond to him because there are better ways to help the youth other than giving them whatever you guys are giving to the youth.
By giving them 6,000.
Kindly relax. Kindly let me finish. Kindly let me finish. Because there are better ways of helping the youth other than whatever you guys are offering. If someone has a PhD, you know, I have so many friends who have masters, others have PhD. Are you going to give wheelbarrows to these people? No, you cannot give them wheelbarrows. So I feel like most of the youth, they are not part of this election. They don't want even to be part of this election process because they feel sidelined, because they don't have jobs. They are suffering. In fact, when you ask some, they tell you, hey, Mr. Pigakura, in fact, I'll just sit at home. In fact, on that day, I'll be at the drinking spree. You see such kind of things. So I think IBC really needs to come out. It really needs to come out strongly and address these kind of issues.
Yeah.
It really needs to.
Okay.
And for my friend, you guys are saying I'm pangwingwi. And for us in Azimio, we're telling you to tawapanganga. That is what we will do to you people. But don't worry. That is on a light note.
Mahmoud, is this an issue of ignorance for the young people as the reason why they're not taking their voters' registration cards or even just taking part in this political situation? Is it an issue of ignorance, or are they simply just exacerbated? They're like, well, all these politicians come, same promises, nothing happens.
There are many factors that lead to us youths locking ourselves voluntarily out of the democratic process of voting and also registering as voters. You know, there are many factors. For example, youths are like tired.
Yeah.
We have been what do you call, every time we have been rotating the same kind of leadership who don't address the core issues that the core grievances that youths are facing generally in Kenya. So they are disparate. Somebody like who has been voting from 1997, 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022 will be despaired. I've had many people, especially because of the devolved functions, they work hard, they contribute their time, and also they invest their resources so that they can make sure that certain person will come, so that at least he can address certain issues that connects with the youth. But it becomes another issue when the moment we are used as tools to ascend to power, and also we as youth, we are used as tools for electoral violence. Yeah. So you can see that we are being used temporarily, interimly. So
it's not an issue of not having the information. It's not an issue of civic education lacking. It's just...
It's not about that. But what I can say is that the moment we continue locking ourselves out of this democratic process, then the situation will worsen.
Okay.
It will not improve. So we should at least be what do you call, accommodative, and also be very mature and wise when making decisions. We should not make decisions because of tribal lines and any other factor that arose the hype of the youth. Okay. So we should be at least very reasonable when we make decisions. For example, I should not support just a candidate just because he comes from my tribe or my family. Yeah. So we should at least be diverse in terms of thinking on our side.
Omulo, voter apathy.
Yeah.
What is the issue here, and how can it be addressed?
The issue is the policy gaps, because I see IBC is wasting a lot of money in voter registration, whereas we were expecting IBC to bring a bill in Parliament to allow, because we should not be focusing on every election cycle, we are talking about voter registration. We should have a policy whereby when you are applying for your ID, you're also applying for, voter's card, so that we have a clear number and we move, in that order. That will, help us save a lot of money come every election year. At the same time, most young people have been voting for same people, same year, same election year. Like I was born, I found, Baba and other leaders, they've been vying for all those years. You cannot be doing the same thing and expect different results. So they believe that these people, we have been voting. Like, in NASA in 2017, I participated actively. I was the Secretary General of NASA Young Turks. And I remember that we were campaigning and we told young people, time has come that we are taking all our luggages and everything and we are going to Canaan, only to find crocodiles on the way. And, some people took honey and milk wholesomely and, utilize it at the steps of Harambee House. These are some of the things that are really discouraging Kenyans. So I believe that we are currently offering a solution as Kenya Kwanza, because the most important issues that Kenyans are facing is economic challenges. Kenyans need jobs. They need food. In fact, even right now, most young people cannot even marry because they cannot afford to pay dowry. They cannot even afford to, to even pay just some few things, actually. Most young people are unmarried because of such kind of economic challenges. These are realities, and let us be very realistic. And I want to tell my dear here, the problem is not 6,000 shillings, and we are not even talking, the problem is not the handout. But did you participate in that process? Were we asked, if I was asked, if I need 6,000 shillings, I could have even said 10,000 shillings or 20,000. Why 6,000? What is the rationale? Why do you give us 6,000? How did you arrive at that 6,000? So These are some of the things we are saying, because we have seen these people. Even when Raila was the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, he came up with the kazi mtaani. Kupanguza mtaro. You know, sometimes you don't take young people for granted. And that is why our resolve as Kenya Kwanza is to bring up a strategy, a framework that will help in reducing public debt, borrowing, and also recover this economy, and also widen the base so that young people can do business and they can also get employed. Wangoi,
are people concerned about the empty promises? We're still talking about this voter apathy as we deviate and mix it also with the political affiliations. What is the issue here from your perspective? What is the problem and how can it be addressed?
Thank you, Trevor. I want to first pick it up from Omolo. He has said that we cannot do the same thing in the same way and expect different results. That's why we are saying when we have all these leaders, they've been here time in, time out. We've seen them on the ballots time in, time out, seeking for these seats. They've been in the executive positions in these countries. What did they do? What are their track records? When we look at, I say we can ignore everything else, but we cannot ignore the accountability question, and we cannot ignore the integrity question. Because as much as we bring anybody on board, and they don't exhibit these two, it means we'll be going to the wrong direction. Looking at the youths, why are the youths not registering as voters? One, we have a very big bulge of frustrated youths, because herein we have youths graduating from our reputable universities in thousands. But does the job market absorb them? We have the private sector doing its bit. We have the government doing its bit. But most of them are home. We had a situation whereby parents have sacrificed so much. They've sold their properties to take their children to school, for them to come and be absorbed in the job market. So for me, I would think we need to change. We need to change the leadership. We need to say enough is enough, change the leadership, have leaders who are going to create an enabling environment for our youths. And I'll tell the youths, not voting is not a solution, because if you don't register as a voter, and also if you register as a voter and you do not vote, it means you're voting indirectly for the wrong person. So let's pick it up. Let's take charge. Please register as voters. Go make wise decisions, because you can't run away from politics. Politics affects our everyday life. It will determine whether your health center, the governor you're going to elect, whether the health center will have medicine. It will determine whether your school children will have books, will have infrastructures. It will determine the kind of roads you're going to use. So we can't run away from politics if we are in this country.
All right, let me see what else you're saying here on feedback at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, #Daybreak. Let's bring that up again and see what you're saying. Keep the views coming. The main question we had asked you earlier on is how can the youth set the political agenda in Kenya? Aleki says youth being divided, what is often referred to as youth diversity, is not organic, it's by design. The oppressors have invested in division and destruction of the youth. Okay. Engineer Lazaro says youth should walk out from their comfort zones and show direction. Days of believing that leadership is only preserved for the white-haired are long gone. Okay. John NM says the major challenge that youth faces is the lack of funds to finance their political ambitions. There's also little or no support from fellow youth, as most will vote for those who give them the per diems during campaigns. Let's talk about this for a bit. And Asika, I want to hear your views on this. On the ground, do the young people care about what your policies are and ideologies, or do they simply wait for you to speak and then they're like, okay, so unatuacha aje?
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, I want to say, as a youth, I have a great following of supporters from Kakamega County. A very great team of youth that support me, and I want to educate my fellow youth who are vying for different positions just a little bit. First of all, as a youth, you need to identify yourself with the youth. Do you really speak to these people directly, or you're now pretending like you're now the mheshimiwa type? You don't want to speak to people just the way these other honorables do. You know, for example, if you, as a youth, if you really want to get to someone like, let's say a member of parliament, I will not use names, a member of parliament or a senator, you know, they will put you off. But as a person who's vying for this position, are you associating yourself with the youth? Are you listening to their grievances? This is what I am always doing. And another thing, are you branding yourself with the youth? Because you cannot say you are going to check, or you're going to take care of the issues of the youth and you're not branded with the youth. That is a no. You really need to have a close relationship with the youth, because, you know, most of the time they have been neglected. Most of the time they have been at the periphery of events. Most of the time they have remained bloggers, and these bloggers, you know, there's a hierarchy. There's someone who's now the broker who's directly linked to the great politician, and now this is the broker who gives small handouts to these other youth, these other small youth. That is the reality on the ground, and it is a very sad affair. So I feel like, as a youth who really wants to be elected to the Senate, I always feel like I really want to get close to these people. I want to associate it with them. I want to know their problems. And I've come to understand the youth really have so many problems out here. Like, you know, when you look at the theories of poverty, for example, the Keynesian theory, you know, the economy of a country depends on how it is being run. Is there misappropriation of funds? Is there corruption? And, you know, these have been on the rampant rise. This has really affected the country of Kenya in a way that most of these people, they do not have jobs. Rather, the people who are supposed to be creating jobs for the youth, they are coming up with models. And I guess they have not read the 48 laws of power, where law number 1 says that you should not try to outshine your master. They have not read these kind of laws. So that is why they are creating very weird models for the youth who are now getting distracted, because they will get some small handouts and they will have something small to carry home for food and bundles. You know, it is a very sad affair.
When you speak to these young people, do they ask you for money?
Okay, as for me, I give what I have.
Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, you cannot go to the village, you've worked with someone the whole day, and you cannot even provide transport for them. That is just out of order. Okay. Yes, so as a youth who wants to be a leader, you should also be hardworking and try to get some funds for yourself. Yeah. In fact, you cannot, for example, you go to the decision-making table, they ask you, Asiko, do you even have nomination fees? And you say you don't have. How can you become a leader when you cannot even afford your own nomination fees? Okay. So as the youth also want this position, let them be realistic. Okay. Yes. So
Mahmoud, there's a difference here. I'm talking about handouts and bribes. So there's a difference. When you're running a campaign, there are those basic funds that you need. Posters, your logistical challenges, also you're making sure you have the vehicles running. Asiko is talking about working with someone and then you have to give them lunch. That is someone who you're paying, you're remunerating them for giving you a service. Yeah. But then there's the handouts part, where the people simply just wait for you to finish and they want money. They came for the political rally and all they do is want money. How can that be addressed and changed, for example, for the young people?
You know, this culture of handout is a recipe for a lot of chaos in this country, because it has become like a primary tool which is being used by the politicians, so that at least in every step that they take in their politics. For example, you can see like a leader standing in front of more than 2,000 young men and women, then promising that before I leave, I will leave 2 million shillings with you. So, but then the 2 million, how will it be distributed? The process of distribution, how will it be remitted to the individuals? How many? You cannot even ascertain the number of people who have attended. You know, so this kind of aspect is risky for our country, and the only way, you know, this is like this was created because of like this complete dominance by politicians. They want to make us poor so that they can be using the same tool over and over again. Every time they want to seek political favor, they will use the same tool. So I will give you a good example. There is this politician from northern Kenya, I will not name him. I was told that there is a certain boy who got very good marks in KCSE. So his family brought him to the politician and asked, can you just sponsor this guy because he got engineering, I don't know, in Turkey or where. He said, instead of going to engineer, let me organize for him so that he can go to Kiganjo to be a police officer.
Yeah.
You know, this is the kind of dominance I want on you. So it can be continuous and continuous. So this guy who will be who will earn less will be over dependent, will be continuously depending on the politician. So it is like a colonial culture where they want to at every time they can at least unfold the same tool every time. So,
but is it realistic to expect the youth to stay away from these handouts, or that is done deal? Because we heard even some of the politicians saying, "Wakileta hapa hiyo pesa chukueni," but then doesn't that foster the culture of handouts? So then is it realistic to expect the youth to stay away from this money?
Yeah, then this comes to the aspect of the socio-economical divide that we have. Yeah. So if you are poor, then and you are given, for example, you work in a mjengo and you are given, let's say, 500 a day. Then a politician comes and gives you 1,000. You know, that is the difference. Yeah. So like this, I will give you the circle of poverty is very broad, especially among our youth. That's why what I wanted to talk about the 6,000 which has been promised by Azimio. Yeah. You know, ask yourself now. You have a house manager, let's call them house managers, the maids. Ask yourself, how much are you paying them now? The maximum you can pay is 10 or to some extent 15. So if this person, you give an extra 6,000 to that same person, will it not be an added value or an addition, or will you not have uplifted the situation? Yeah. Okay. Get my point?
Yes.
So if you go to the slums, you'll see that one small room, which is dwelled by around, let's say three members of the family, and they pay 1,000. Okay. So if you are given 6,000, this will pay for you for 6 months. Yeah. It will at least cater for the rental expenses for the 6 months. Okay. So this is about poverty, which is the handiwork of the politician. They want this complete and continuous dominance on ourselves so that they can at least unleash the tool of handouts every time they come to...
Omulo, is this an issue of individual integrity or societal structural failures? Because in the US, for example, if you're stopped by a police officer, if you try to give that police officer money, you're directly going to be arrested. There's no doubt that one of them might actually consider it. Sure. There's no doubt. Is it an issue of societal structural failures, or is it individual integrity where now the young people all stand and say, we cannot take this money from this person? Or should we just take the money because we're desperate?
I would say both, because first and foremost, you see corruption has actually been devolved up to the family units. Because you sometimes, you know, it is a norm. What we see on TV, we see people stealing money. We see police officers asking for bribes. So it is a normal affair in Kenyan politics. But the only issue is how do we bridge this gap? Remember, IBC came up with a law that gave a cap on what you are supposed to spend as a member or as a contestant. And remember, members of parliament actually, you know, had issues with it because they want to spend as much as possible. It is a show of might. Yeah. What am I able to give? And it's a culture that has been inculcated by the members of parliament, even leaders. If we really respect the law, the rule of law, and we have, you know, laws that will be able to give up, because as you campaign, there are certain basic requirements that you need, especially, you know, printing of posters, having meetings. There are expenditures that you'll have to incur. But at the same time, I believe that if we respect the law, and we have a serious stringent measures that will help us avoid giving handouts to the young people by, you know, creating a conducive environment that will give young people jobs and also will provide a platform for business. I don't think in the near future we'll have such kind of, you know, mistakes of taking handouts. But at the same time, it is very unfortunate because they do say mkono mtupu hailambwi. But we have seen some people once in a while have broken this cycle. I've seen a leader in Meru who was elected, and it was just from, you know, a high school or university. Sometimes it also depends, as young people, how we package ourselves. The ability to mobilize the resources, the ability, you know, to sell your policies.
Yeah.
You know, we cannot be doing the same thing we see politicians are doing. We can do it in a unique way, just as US. Obama came up with a running call, yes we can, and people are contributing.
Yeah.
So sometimes as young people we can be unique enough, we believe in ourselves, and we can rally young people behind us to support our cause. The only thing is that we want to copy what others are doing, because now they are giving 1,000 shillings, you struggle. I remember when I contested for an MC in 2013, I struggled. And it's very unfortunate, and I want to advise young people, because by that time I was not so much sure on the kind of politics that I was entering in. And I remember I spent a lot of money, and I went to an extent of borrowing. And at the end of elections, even though I was number 2, but I was left with a lot of debts to pay.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson I learned, and even now, I'm very careful.
Are you running again?
Of course, I've consulted, and very soon I'll be announcing for Senate of okay. But what we are telling young people, let us be unique.
Yeah.
Let us have, because you are a leader, so long as you believe in yourself and you want this position, you want to bring change, you can rally young people behind you.
Wangoi, how do we address this issue of handouts? Is it by asking the youth not to take the money, or by stopping the politicians from giving the money?
One thing, Trevor, when we talk about, I really like running away from this issue of handouts, because when we are creating a nation whereby people appreciate handouts so much that we don't even create the culture of working and earning money as the best kind of the best kind of approach. Because when you have an MP running for a seat and using 60 million, 100 million, which is more than the money they will earn as salaries, where do you think these people will get the money back? One, this paves way to corruption, because this kind of money that they are giving you as handout is the money they'll have to recover first when they get to those bunges, is the money they'll have to recover first when they get to the positions of influence. Yeah. And when they recover this money, it trickles down to you not having development. It trickles down to a road that was supposed to be done for 50 kilometers, being done substandardly for 20 kilometers, because the other part of the tarmac will definitely fit in somebody's pocket as they wait for the electioneering period for campaigns to start, and they give you the same handouts for you to vote for them. Yeah. So as much as they are giving you this money, you know, we are in Kenya. I'll not tell you that when they come giving this money, people will run away. People will take the money. But as much as you are taking that money, you have to ask yourself the most pertinent question is, where will these people recover this kind of money? Yeah. Because why should a governor spend 2 billion going for a county seat? Yeah. It means in their mind, it is very clear they are going to recover this money plus more of it. All right. So let's stop this handout culture. Yeah. Let's look at how to create an enabling environment for people to work, earn their own money, pay taxes, for the government to consolidate the taxes and develop the country. I'm
giving you each 1 minute for closing remarks, and I'll start with you, Asiko. You can make it as a closing remark. Okay. The youth who are listening to you this morning, what do you want them to hear? 1 minute.
First of all, I want them to create a positive mental image for themselves, to always believe in themselves, especially for those who are running for different positions and they don't have the resources. Let them believe in themselves. Let them know that whatever you think is whatever you become at the end of the day. So if you're running for any position, for example, there's one who's running for Mumias East. He's called Peter Salasia. I am praying for you. I know you don't have the resources, but I know if you believe in yourself, you're going to be the next member of parliament.
Are you campaigning for someone?
I'm not campaigning. I am telling...
It's a closing remark. We just finish up. It's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and also for those who, for the youth in Kakamega, let's rally behind our own, because at the end of the day, we cannot make it if we don't rally behind our fellow youth.
Okay.
Yes.
Mahmoud, closing remarks, 1 minute.
Thank you. You know, as youth, we are very innovative because of the advance of technology and many other factors in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So we have the strength, we have the merits, we have the capacity to at least be part of decision-making in governance, so that at least our issues and our grievances can be easily addressed.
Okay.
So this culture of handout is not a solution.
Okay.
It is a continuation of dominance and colonization of politicians over us,
Okay.
which doesn't have an end. It's like a marriage. You will not like reach it. So this culture of handout, I wanted even to tell you that I'm vying for LSK, Law Society of Kenya Council member, Nairobi representative,
Yeah.
and even the learned friends, they want handouts. So
Yeah.
this culture of handouts is diverse. It's not only to the youth,
Yeah.
but also even to the learned friends. So this culture, at least, we should at least extinguish it completely and be self-reliant on our own and be on the table of decision-making in governance,
Yeah.
and participate in the elections.
All right.
If you don't participate in the elections, then the decisions will be made by others on our behalf.
Okay, I'm glad you think marriages don't have an end. But Umulo, that's a closing remark.
Yes, mine will be to say that we are at a critical moment, and we want young people to interrogate the manifestos that are being presented by the political leaders and make informed decisions, because we are living at a time where we can access smartphones. We are more informed. So it is high time that we interrogate these people, we make informed decision. And as you can see, Kenya Kwanza, we have leaders who are youthful, as compared to our opponents who are wazees. So sometimes let us rally behind the young people.
Okay.
Let us support our youth. And again, I also wanted to tell the registrar, the auditors general, to release audit report, because we have seen governors running around, some few in some coalition that they are supporting, but yet they have misused county funds and they need to be brought to book. Let us not protect thieves. And while you call others people thieves, you guys you have a group, a coalition of thieves, because you don't want to be accountable. Okay. So we want to tell Auditor General to release audit report for the last financial year, so that we can gauge these governors, how much they spend and how they misuse those public funds.
Okay, Wangui, final remarks.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for hosting us and sharing a platform with these youthful leaders. One, I would want to urge youths across the divides and tell them that political parties form government. Governments are not formed by lobby groups, and political parties are the institutions that are used to negotiate for power in any government. So I would urge them to join political parties. Okay. And I would single out Democratic Party of Kenya, because it gives a very big space for the youths. And I also tell them that the person who will take, I always give an example. If you want to hire somebody, you make sure that you conduct interviews, you make sure you do background checks, and you make sure that this is the right person for the job. So this country is like a company. We need a CEO who is qualified for the job. So let's get the two-horse mentality out of our mind, and it is just in time for us to look at all the leaders, interrogate them, and get the best one.
All right. Mukami Wangui, Youth Chairperson, Democratic Party of Kenya; Kennedy Omulo, Director, Political Affairs, ANC; Mohamud Salim Omar, Advocate of the High Court; and Winfred Asiko, Youth Leader. Thank you so much for making time this morning. We have to give the people the final say. Let's bring up what you're saying online before we take a quick break here. Let's bring that up on social media. Jimmy Jimson says it is clear that youth vying are disconnected from the reality on the ground. It is no different from the political masters. I am sad they can't answer a simple question as to why youths are not registering as voters, okay? Arisa Rogers says campaign periods, take votes and vote for your future. Which future? If our parents were promised and to date they live the same lives, who am I to be given what I'm promised? I tell you for free, If I will be there 2027, invite me, we will talk about the same promises. Okay. Abdurrahman Ali says the youth have what it takes to change the leadership of this country by voting wisely. Corruption and nepotism is the main challenge that affects youth. Mtu yetu, haki yetu has taken us back. Let us focus as a nation and shun away regional tribal minds. We are one, okay? GPZO says the youth need to incorporate each other and form a like-minded political cluster to effectively set the political agenda of the country, all right? Mtuimara says the youth are the majority in this country, but they are easily swayed by political masters. They don't have resources to drive their agendas. They end up sticking with their masters for them to remain relevant, all right? That's where we leave it for now. It's time for Level Up Fridays with Willis Bazura Buru. All right, see you in just a bit.